Warning, F-bombs are armed and may be dropped. Right. Earlier today I had a temper tantrum for which I am not about to apologize. I'm not taking those words back. Fuck that shit, no way. Alright, I meant every word of it. There's a reason it's not on YouTube. And I am probably going to be in trouble for that later. Okay, so what? Somebody had to finally go and tell the truth, and it fell on me. There's an underlying danger in the things that Mark Zuckerberg is doing. Jack Dorsey, Google, I forgot that guy's name. There's an underlying danger to what they're doing. And I'm a pretty good example of it. See, you know me as Mandatory Carry. You might know me as 9017. You don't know me as Pod Home. I'm not the only one like that. See, Mandatory Carry, I'm saying everybody should have to carry unless they have a big fat exemption. 9017, I'm saying there's a terrorist attack coming. This is the model they're going to work on. Let's do something about it. Pod Home, I don't really talk about that much. And why not? Well, because Pod Home is my absolutely left of Saul Alinsky idea. It is literally every progressive's supposed ideal. You know, house the homeless. That's exactly it. Set them up so maybe they can get into drug treatment if they need to, or alcohol treatment if they need to. If they need psychiatric help, they could get that. And yet, I keep getting banned on fascistbook. See, one reasonable idea that's very harsh and that I've openly said I don't like it myself gets me into trouble. A second issue about a real world problem that nobody can actually deny exists. We just had an arrest late last week about exactly this subject. That gets me into trouble. And in the same breath, they're hurting this other program, which is, by the way, tied into the other two a little bit. Do you think all of the 9017 victims are going to be, white Christian cisgender males like me? No. 90% of them are going to be homeless people because they're in exactly the right place to be somebody nobody cared about. So take them all out? Well, the law enforcement will care after the fact. But until then, nah. The cops are not going to come to the homeless camps and try to stop this massacre from happening. They're not even going to know about it until 20 minutes after the bad guys are gone. Hadn't been saying a whole lot about that, because that is a huge tactical advantage. Believe it or not, I don't want to write the 9017 playbook for the terrorists and for the Antifa. And at least Antifa, for the most part, isn't going to shoot up a homeless camp. They'll throw rocks at us, throw rocks at them, but they're not going to shoot up a homeless camp. Nah. That would require a pair. Mandatory carry, you're exempt if you're homeless. But if you're not homeless, you're not exempt. Now, if you're in a pod home, are you still exempt? Well, let's talk about that later. All right? I'm willing to say yes, I'm willing to say no. Let's figure that out when we get to that point. But in coming after me for these two programs, you're hurting the other one. If you think I'm the only person in this boat, you're fucktarded as shit bricks. Right? Every single conservative you can name has at least one pet project, liberal project that they're interested in. Me, it's homelessness. There's another lady, I'm a moderate, right? That's the reality. She's actually a conservative. Her pet project is food assistance. All right. There is a very well-known conservative. His pet project is actually welfare reform, and that means he wants to take welfare. Wait, no, actually, he wants to clean up this mess, and nobody would end up being kicked off unless they have a drug problem. And if they have a drug problem and they go into treatment, they won't be kicked off either. Right? This is a very well-known conservative. I can't say his name on Facebook. Give you an idea who it might be? He's been kicked off of Facebook entirely. He can't talk about his welfare reform program because he's a conservative. All he really wants to do is to force drug addicts into treatment. And he's being punished for that. And this is not an accident. And that's the point of this little rant. The progressives do not want the system cleaned up. They do not want homeless off the street. They don't want drug addicts off of drugs. They want the control that being homeless gives them. Because they can force you to live the way they want you to live. They want the control that being a drug addict gives them. Because they can force you to live the way they want you to live. They want the control over your life. And that's dangerous. Now, I know Marky Mark's sycophants and his apologists are going to get onto this boom like that and say, "Oh, no, that's not it at all. We want to help everybody." Yeah, well, you know what? Go tell that lie to somebody who didn't used to say exactly that. Alright? You cannot bullshit me. I know all of these lies, remember? I used to be one of you. Go ahead, try. They want the control over your life that you being homeless. That you being homeless or a drug addict or unemployed gives them. And to be perfectly honest, I want to take all that control away from them. Now, yes, I would rather see every homeless person have a job, have an apartment or a home that they pay for, and pay for their own groceries. That would be the ideal. And having been there and done that myself, I can tell you that's what they would rather have as well. They don't want to be drug addicts living under a bridge. That's just kind of where their life is right now. They would like to start living a real human life free of the drugs. Especially the homeless drug addicts. And that's the truth. They're tired of freezing to death. They're tired of being kicked in the head by somebody walking by just because they happened to be there. Back when I was homeless, there was one guy who would sleep underneath this one particular bridge. I'd walk past him every morning on my way to work, ironically enough. And I remember every day as I'm walking past him, thinking that guy's going to get kicked in his head someday. And guess what? One day he just wasn't there. Found out 2 weeks later he was in the hospital because that night he'd been kicked in the head. I remember, I even called it. He was going to be kicked in the head, and he was kicked in the head. And it wasn't even an accident. It was some drunk walking home from the bar. This is not an accident that conservatives are being targeted. And I guarantee you, if you look at Paul Watson's history, you're going to find his more liberal pet project. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's immigration reform. I don't know. Kind of made that a little bit up based on what I know about him. That's what they want. They don't want immigration control or reform. They don't want to make it easier for legal immigration or legal immigrants. They want to make it harder for legal immigrants so that everybody will just sneak across the border. They don't want you to buy your own groceries. They don't want you paying for your own apartment. So they come after those of us, especially who aren't too subtle about our more progressive ideals. Especially Louis Farrakhan, they just threw him under that bus because they had to make it look good. This is what I was afraid of when that Portland Antifa and Lauren Southern were kicked off of Patreon. Now, they had actually done something illegal, okay, fine. Can't kick Lauren off without being accused of pandering or, breaking the rules. So let's kick these other guys off who actually did something illegal as well, even though when the time finally came, they actually weren't involved. They were just talking about doing exactly that. Bad luck, maybe. They weren't involved, but wasn't exactly bad luck, was it? Oh, it all looks good. It's a legitimate complaint. We have a legitimate reason to kick them off. Now we don't look like we're playing favorites. Don't let him get away with this. Mark Zuckerberg belongs in prison. Keep calm, mandatory carry on, and support Pod Home by telling people about it.